Hello everybody, my name is Shankarji. Now we'll study chapter 1, the rise of nationalism in Europe. During the 19th century, nationalism emerged as a force which brought major political and mental changes in the world of Europe. The end result of these changes was the emergence of various nation states in place of the dynastic empires of Europe. In nation states, many of its citizens developed a sense of common identities, shared history, or descent. This sense of commonness was forged through struggles by the actions of leaders and the common people. Now we'll discuss this topic, the French Revolution and the idea of the nation. The first example of nationalism came with the French Revolution in 1789 CE or Common Era. It led to the transfer of sovereignty from the monarchy to the French citizens, which consolidated the power of the people and to shape the nation's destiny. The French revolutionaries introduced various measures and practices to create a sense of collective identity amongst the French people, like the ideas of la patrie or the fatherland, les citoyens or the citizen, etc. They also emphasized equal rights for all the people. A new tricolor French flag was chosen to replace the former royal standard. The French citizens also formed the National Assembly. New hymns were composed, oaths taken, and martyrs commemorated, all in the name of the nation. A central administrative system was put in place, and it formulated uniform laws for all the citizens within its territory. Internal customs, duties and dues were abolished. A uniform system of weights and measures was adopted. Regional dialects were discouraged and French became the common language of the nation. The French revolutionaries also helped the people of other European countries to become nations as well. Students and other members of educated middle classes began setting up Jacobin clubs. The French armies moved into Holland, Belgium, Switzerland and much of Italy in the 1790s, and thus carried the idea of nationalism abroad as well. Also during this time, Napoleon introduced many reforms in his territory. He introduced the Civil Code of 1804, usually known as the Napoleonic Code, which removed all privileges based on birth, established equality before the law, and secured the right to property. He simplified administrative divisions, abolished the feudal system, and freed peasants from serfdom and manorial dues. Guild restrictions were removed in the towns as well. Transport and communication systems were improved. Peasants, artisans, workers, and new businessmen enjoyed a newfound freedom. However, in the areas conquered, the reactions of the local population to the French rule were mixed. The initial enthusiasm turned to hostility because of increased taxation, censorship and forced conscription into the French armies required to conquer the rest of Europe. Now we'll discuss this topic, the making of nationalism in Europe. The mid-18th century Europe was divided into many different ethnic groups of people. For example, the Habsburg Empire ruled over Austria-Hungary, which consisted of many different regions and people. It included the aristocracy, who spoke German, Italian and Polish languages mainly, and the peasants. Such differences did not easily promote a sense of political unity. The only tie or bond between these diverse groups of people was their common allegiance to the emperor. Now we will talk about the aristocracy and the new middle class. The aristocracy was the dominant class socially and politically in Europe. However, they were numerically a small group. The majority of the population was made up of the peasantry. Later, due to industrialization, new social groups came into being, like the middle class or the working class population. It was made up of industrialists, businessmen, and professionals. The ideas of national unity gained popularity among these educated liberal middle classes. Now we'll discuss this topic. What did liberal nationalism stand for? It stood for freedom for the individual and equality of all before the law for the new middle classes. It also stood for the freedom of markets and the abolition of the state-imposed restrictions on the movements of the goods and capital. In 1834 CE or Common Era, a customs union or Zollverein was formed at the initiative of Prussia and joined by most of the German states. The union abolished tariff barriers and reduced the number of currencies from over 30 to 2. The railways further stimulated mobility, harnessing economic interests to national unification.